Have you ever felt so off in your body and you knew something was wrong way before you even got a diagnosis, but you just know something was wrong? So this was around, say, 2010, 2011. I was 17 at the time. I was still in high school. And I remember thinking at the time, something doesn't feel right. It didn't feel like myself. Something just felt off. I was constantly tired and anxious, and I always felt like I was just dragging my body around. But I went down this rabbit hole and I started Googling, and I didn't really even know what I was looking for at the time. And I had never even heard the word thyroid or didn't even know what it was. Again, I'm 17 and I'm just trying to be a teenager. So I went down this Google rabbit hole. I came across blogs, articles, trying to figure out what it was. And Google back then wasn't like the Google we have these days. It was quite limited in information. When you wanted to search a topic, you have to constantly search and change the wording of what you're searching for to try and get somewhere. And it wasn't like today where you can just open up TikTok and Instagram and find health information in seconds. I'm a teenager at the end of the day. I didn't know better. I didn't know where else to go. So I wanted to find this information. I just wanted to search up my symptoms and try and figure out what was going on. Why was I so tired? Why was I so anxious? And so that's when I kind of came across hypothyroidism. And at first, I actually thought I had hypothyroidism. I guess back then it was because of the lack of information out there on thyroid health. So I diagnosed myself with hypothyroidism. That's what kind of led me to go to my doctor at the time. And these symptoms going on, I've been going through this for some time. I would like to check to see if I have hypothyroidism. Then after those blood works came back, it actually turned out that I had hyperthyroidism. So basically I had an overactive thyroid, whereas hypo means it's an underactive thyroid. And then with those blood work as well, it came up that I had Graves' disease. So the cause of my hyperthyroidism was because of Graves' disease. And before I continue any further with this, I specifically want to talk to any woman out there who is listening to this episode right now. First of all, thank you for being here and thank you for listening to this episode. I'm honestly just sharing this from my own experience and what I went through. I have no reason to share this, but to bring awareness to a topic that still to this day, I find it isn't spoken about enough. I just want you to know this. You know your body and you know when something is off. And I want you to try and get really in tune with these feelings when you feel like something is off. Don't let anyone tell you it's just stress or it's your hormones or maybe it's just that time of the month again. If you feel it, then believe it, but don't just leave it. Go get checked out. Don't wait until your symptoms just get so much worse for you to go get some answers. Try and get those answers right away. So the first thing that I want to get into is, what is hyperthyroidism? If someone on the street was to approach me and ask me, hey, wait, what's hyperthyroidism? I would still struggle answering that question with a one-liner. I'm going to answer this with my own understanding of what hyperthyroidism is. As I mentioned in my previous episode, I'd like to cut this and say that in no way am I providing any medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I am nowhere near anywhere in the medical field. Every information that I do provide you on this episode and every single episode on this topic is from my own experience. When I first got diagnosed, I didn't really even know what thyroid was. So basically the thyroid is a small gland located in your neck, and I actually like to think of it as the most important gland in your entire body because it's responsible for your metabolism, your mood, your energy, your hormones, which still drives me wild that this information, this basic, simple information isn't provided to young women out there. But so in the context of hyperthyroidism, when that normal functioning thyroid then becomes overactive, it starts to work really, really hard in overdrive. It's like as if your body is in fast forward and it's just going super, super fast. That can lead to symptoms that weren't there before, that are not normal for you to go through. For me, those symptoms were anxiety, panic attacks, fatigue, where I was so tired that I could even barely stay awake. But the biggest symptom for me, my eyes bulging. And this was a symptom that was so obvious. It was there, and I was getting asked questions about it, like, what were wrong with your eyes? But obviously the bulging eyes was a result of my Graves' disease, which was causing my overactive thyroid. See, I didn't understand any of that at the time, but all I knew is that I felt off all the time. If you've never heard of hyperthyroidism, that's okay, because I was once there. I didn't know what it was until I actually started to have symptoms. Your thyroid is working so hard that it's taking a toll on your body. It's creating those symptoms. And even those symptoms can include physical changes, just like they were for me with my bulging eyes. And that's the reason why this series does exist and why I decided I wanted to talk about this. Because for me, my symptoms weren't just internal. They weren't just something that I can only feel. They were symptoms that you could actually see externally, where I could look in the mirror and I couldn't even recognize myself anymore. I think this condition is very overlooked and misunderstood by young women. So the next thing that I am going to get into is the symptoms I had. The symptoms I had weren't really easy to explain. It wasn't just one symptom or one word to describe those symptoms. It wasn't just being tired or fatigued. It was feeling completely off and feeling like I'm on edge and I just don't know why. And I kept telling myself that I'm just tired, that school is stressful. The most confusing symptom to me still to this day are the panic attacks that I used to experience. I used to get really hot and sweaty and hyperventilate and I couldn't breathe. And I constantly felt like I needed to be outdoors or near a window. Felt like I was dying when I would have these panic attacks. And I still don't fully have the words to describe what it was that I was going through, but all I know that it was terrifying. If I look back at that 17-year-old girl going through that was a really scary time for her. And then the next symptom after that was my eyes bulging out. Now, this was the most obvious symptom of them all. All the other symptoms that I was experiencing didn't really drive me to take action and try to get answers. I just thought they were something normal that I was going through as a teenager in high school, and I was just exhausted from schoolwork. It was my eyes bulging that actually drove me to go see an optometrist. I mean, I thought eyes, it's eye related, so I have to go see an optometrist. After many visits to the optometrist, came up with dry eyes and I just had to wear glasses because my vision wasn't really great at that time. And they prescribed me eye drops. Turns out it wasn't that I had sensitive eyes or dry eyes. I had Graves' eye disease. There was one symptom that really got in the way of my day-to-day life, and I was still in high school at the time. It was the fatigue. I was so tired to the point where I would fall asleep in class. And then there was this particular class where I would constantly keep falling asleep in, and the teacher got so fed up at this point. I remember he sent me out of his class and told me to drop his class, and I just had to pick a subject that eventually didn't allow me to get an ATAR to go to university because of that, because I had to drop his class. That kind of makes me really sad looking back at that now. But what makes me really sad is this teacher didn't really understand what I was going through at the time and didn't really ask me questions, and he just thought I was being lazy or was being rebellious and falling asleep in his class. So not only did he not understand what I was going through, but I also didn't understand what I was going through as well. And then at this point as well, I decided to quit my after school job. I started socializing less with friends because I was just really tired. I wanted to lock myself in the room and lay in bed and sleep and maybe watch some TV so I can just kind of like zone out. The big one for me was I just didn't feel pretty at that time. And that was really difficult because when you're that young, you're in your prime and you're meant to feel so beautiful and you're meant to embrace this beauty. But I didn't get to because my beauty was interrupted at a really early age. Okay, so what caused it for me? All I know is I didn't get sick randomly. And looking back now, I can see exactly what caused it. I was this little teenager just growing up way too fast. I was probably living like a 30-year-old woman back then. I was this perfectionist. I also was living in a really chaotic environment. There was a lot of stress around me. My environment was a little bit toxic. I still think it's not just hormones or genetics. It's definitely environment. It was environment for me, and it was the stress of my environment. That stress, that perfectionism, that wanting to be this overachiever is really what triggered it for me. And then having this very stressful environment around me. And even though I didn't know it at the time, but I know now that your nervous system, your emotions, your surroundings, they all affect your thyroid. I didn't know that chronic stress can mess with your body so much, but I do now. If I could go back, I would completely avoid the stress, avoid chaotic situations, and just be a teenager, like be a kid and enjoy life and try not to grow up so fast. The common hyperthyroidism triggers are chronic stress, toxic relationships, overtraining or undereating, perfectionism, emotional trauma, genetics or autoimmune disease such as Graves' disease. The emotional part of going through hyperthyroidism or a thyroid condition is one of the hardest things that no one ever talks about, because it's one of those silent killers that not everyone can see, especially like if you don't have any physical changes on the outside, where a lot of that is internal, and a lot of those things can be seen as normal for other people, like having anxiety or fatigue. I don't think any of that is normal, by the way. A lot of the times, because data out there is so male driven, so when we see women having anxiety or being fatigued, it's just normal. Maybe you need to eat more of this or do more of that or rest more or sleep more, which yes, of course you do. There's definitely something underlying. And there's a lot of the emotions that go with these symptoms that never get spoken about. When I first started to experience these symptoms, and then when I got diagnosed, I felt like I had to grow up so fast, almost overnight. I wasn't just tired and fatigued, I was also so scared. I was scared all the time, because I went from there's nothing wrong with me to someone telling me you've got such and such and such and you have to do this about it and you've got to do all these. There was so much going on already, and being in school, and I had to finish school. I was so scared because I thought there was seriously something wrong with me. I was also scared because I didn't know anyone at the time who was going through this. And I was even more scared because my confidence was completely shattered at that time. And then I was getting told, there's something wrong with you, do something about it, take this medication, it's all going to fix it. But I felt like it was more than that, because the biggest one for me, my face started to change. My beauty was taken away from me. I remember looking in the mirror and it was like as if I was unrecognizable, and it almost felt like, if I look back at that, it almost felt like it was an overnight change. Like I went from looking this way to looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, God, like, who am I? It's like as if I grew 10 years older just in 24 hours. Well, that's what it felt like. I don't think it was that way. And obviously it was gradual. My hair started thinning, my eyes were bulging, my skin was super pale. And I'm not trying to be vain here and just make it all about, appearance and how I look. It's not about that. It's just that internally, I also didn't feel beautiful. And a lot of people around me kind of made me feel that way as well. Not just the doctors and the medical system was telling me there's something wrong, but it was just that even at that time, I had a lot of people drifting away from me. I was also drifting away from people. I was becoming less social, but that's because I was being treated like there was something wrong with me. Teachers at school assumed that I was rebellious because I was just falling asleep in class and was always tired, or, I can't admit that I was even barely going to school at that time. I preferred to stay home, or I preferred to do less stimulating tasks. But I'm very grateful, because at that time, I had my mum, who was kind of like my rock, and she was helping me through this, even though at the time she didn't even understand what this was. And that was the crazy part, is that even my mum wasn't educated in this topic and didn't understand it as well, and was trying to help me understand it while she was getting her to understand it as well. Years and years later, she ended up being diagnosed herself with an underactive thyroid, which is a hypothyroidism. But if there are any young women listening to this and they are going through any issues with their thyroid, I just want you to know that you didn't do anything wrong. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. It's not your fault. And you can absolutely get through it. Your body is so resilient and you just have to learn how to work with it. Okay, so what helped me? So this is something I definitely want to get to in another episode. It's something that is probably going to need me to talk about it in depth. Really quickly, I'm going to touch on this. What helped me? Honestly, I changed everything. Everything I knew before, the way I grew up, the way I was in my early teens, that was all very different after my diagnosis. Food, lifestyle, the way I saw my body, even like mindset. I was trying to heal myself holistically and I was trying to do a full reset. I can say I did. I successfully did that. I healed my thyroid holistic. I started with food. I don't know what it was, but there was something inside of me that wanted me to start with food first. And I came across foods that were really beneficial for thyroid health. And that was like, I was still young then. It was still quite early in my diagnosis. I mean, I was diagnosed, I was put on medication for hyperthyroidism, and I was told to take that medication. I wasn't given any other information and I wasn't told to do anything else. Just take this medication and continue seeing my endocrinologist. I went out on my own and thought, no way, I'm not taking this. There is more to it. I just knew it in my gut that I had to do more. And so I went on that journey, and that's why I started with food first. And I changed my whole routine around food and eating and what I ate and how I saw food. It was a beautiful experience, actually. I still carry that till now because I value food and I see food in a different way, and I see food as nourishing you and nourishing your body. And it's more than just for eating and for pleasure. Food is what's going to make you feel alive. And then from there is when I also started to realize that changing my lifestyle and my environment and who I surround myself with and where I go really does matter. And so I did that to the best of my ability. I was still young and still I started to go out with friends again, but I still tried to avoid really stressful situations during that time. And when I say avoid, I really meant it. As soon as there was some kind of drama or some stress, I picked myself up and I was out. I didn't want nothing to do with it. And then this is also when I started to get into fitness, and I found a new love in my life, and I called it fitness. That's when I really started to take my life super seriously. Definitely want to talk about this in a few series times because that's what changed my life, I think, the most. And I fell in love with fitness so much. I ended up becoming a personal trainer because of that. And yes, if you're thinking I came off the medication, I did. I actually decided to come off the medication much earlier than what I was supposed to. You can kind of say that I was a little bit of a rebel then, because I decided to stop taking the medication. I decided to also stop seeing my endocrinologist at the time, even though he was emailing me and checking up. Felt like I was ready to just go off on my own and figure it out on my own, and I was doing really well at that. And I was right, I did. I didn't really need my endocrinologist anymore. I didn't really need the medication anymore. But again, don't take this as medical advice, and so I encourage you to always seek help, seek advice through doctors, through specialists. Probably one advice I would give you though is try and find a specialist who specializes in that field, but is also capable of looking at it from a holistic point of view and is able to give you some advice and information around your lifestyle, diet, and exercise. And so any woman out there who feels super overwhelmed by her symptoms, no matter what the diagnosis is, and if you're listening to this and you don't have any thyroid diagnosis, or you don't know anything about thyroid, no one in the family has it, you don't know any friends who have it, that's fine. But if you have any symptoms at all, don't shut those symptoms off. They're happening for a reason, even though they're very small. But if you feel off, that is a trigger for you to do something about it. Start by listening to your body. Go to your doctor, but don't take no for an answer. Ask for tests and ask for as much tests as possible to allow you to determine what's going on with you. And in terms of thyroid health, ask for that to be checked. Even for me, who has a history of a thyroid disease, I still to this day, when I go get my blood every 6 months, I have to ask for my thyroid to be checked as well. I think it should be a given. I don't understand the medical field and why it is the way it is. It can just be checked, even if we're not asking for it. We can diagnose sooner rather than when things get a lot worse. And also, no matter what you get told, you can get better, you can heal. Our bodies are so resilient. You just have to give it nourishment, give it love, and give it some time, and really focus on yourself. I mean, if you don't focus on yourself, who is going to focus on you, right? And healing is possible even if you have to find the way your own way. Thanks for being here. And I know this episode was a little more educational, but I really wanted you to understand how this condition can affect you, not just physically, but emotionally. For me, hyperthyroidism, it wasn't just a diagnosis. It was a disruption to my faith, to my confidence, to how I saw myself, found my way back. And I definitely think I had to go through it because I value my health and my body so much now. Giving it the love and care is part of me. I value health for sure. But in future episodes, I will take you deeper into things that actually help me, including food, fitness, and just lifestyle changes. But for now, if you've made it this far, thank you, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being here. I would love if you can click the subscribe button, like this video, and I'll see you in the future episodes. Bye bye for now.